Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again today. In this video, I will be changing the brake fluid of the XK8. I'm very excited about this project and I will film it in detail. I'll cover everything from preparation steps, we'll go through contingency planning, we'll talk about tooling, I will discuss 4 different methods of getting the job done, and then we'll go into implementation where we actually perform the fluid change for the Jag. All right, let's get started. Preparation steps. You want to get the vehicle raised off the ground and you want to take off the wheels. Now, you can do that one wheel at a time as you go through and you bleed each caliper separately, or you could have the entire vehicle up in the air and all the wheels off at the same time. This is what I have set up here currently, but you can follow either approach, whatever works best for your particular case. Once you have the wheels off, what you may want to do, this is a bit of a optional step, but what you may want to do is you may want to take a look at the rubber caps that are on top of the bleed nipples. Here's the front. You see that, what the cap looks like. It's a little bit dirty. Here's the bleed nipple. By the way, never mind the fact that my liner is missing. I have it out because I'm also preparing to change the shocks and the strut mounts. So that's the next project coming up, but that's why I have the liner out. So don't worry about the fact that it's missing. Anyways, back to this project. You take off the rubber here. I just want to compare it here with the rear wheel, where you would see that this cap is different, right? This cannot be removed fully. This sort of stays hanging here onto the caliper. So there is a difference. When you take this off, don't lose it. As an optional step, you may want to clean these, right? Clean them and get them, rejuvenate the rubber and get it in a good shape. And I'll show you here on the other side. I've cleaned this one. So this one is nice and clean, and you can see how it looks here when you do that. So I'll just take a few minutes to clean these other pieces and then we'll continue. Continuing with preparation steps. I have the wing covered here to protect it from scratching as I touch the body of the car. Now, brake fluid is extremely corrosive. You do not want to have a situation where brake fluid drips onto your paintwork. If that happens, the brake fluid will chew through your clear coat and your paint with relative ease. So we have to account for that possibility and basically mitigate the likelihood of it happening. This is the brake fluid container which holds the additional brake fluid. This is where we'll be adding the fresh brake fluid in. This is the entry point of the system, and then from here it travels to the wheels. So I need to protect the area around, and here's what I would do. Use an old cloth, place it around like so that if there is any drip or leak around here, the cloth would soak it up. In addition, take a clean plastic bag, cut it in half, and cut a small triangle hole here in the middle. Once that's done, you can take the cap off, carefully move it out of the way, and you don't want any debris falling inside. So if your container, by the way, is dirty for any reason, wipe it off first before you take the cap off. Once this is done, you can position the plastic and place it around the opening, and now you can close it back. because we're not ready to start yet. So you don't want this staying open, you can close it back. But the idea is that if there's any small leak here, which goes underneath the plastic, the cloth would contain that. And on top of the plastic is now protecting your paintwork, your engine, and so on. There is still a problem here, which is that if there's a leak, the liquid could just drip down and get to areas you don't want it. So in addition to this, what I would do is I would place a cloth on top, and I'll probably have another one on this side, so that again, if anything drips, the cloth would contain it and it wouldn't allow it to escape the area. I hope that makes sense. And at the same time, if there's a lot of liquid that goes through the cloth, the plastic is underneath, so it won't allow it to go any further. All right, those are the preparation steps. Next, we'll go to mitigation. All right, we've taken measures to be safe, but accidents could happen, and it's good to be prepared for that eventuality. What you need is a roll of paper towel to soak up any liquid and a spray bottle with clean water. Make sure your bottle is primed and ready to spray. Keep these to the side of your working area, somewhere close to the car, so that if you ever need them, God forbid, you can get them quickly, and you don't need to be going inside the house. Oh, let me fill up a bit of water because there's a spill and I need to contain it and I need to clean it and so on. You want to be ready to act quickly if the brake fluid ever touches your paintwork. So that's it in terms of mitigation. Let's move on. All right, we're continuing with tooling. Now, the size of the bleed nipple is 9 millimeters. You need a 9 millimeter wrench. You can slide it in and just leave it there like that for now. You also need a hose. This is a clear hose with a 1/4 inch inside diameter. This particular one has 3/8 of an inch outside diameter. The outside diameter doesn't matter. What's important is the inside 1/4 inch diameter. This fits well. It is just tight enough as you press it in to make good contact. This way, when the liquid is escaping, it goes down the hose and you drain it away. Now, on the other side of this hose, we want to contain the liquid. So we're going to use a bottle. Oops. A clear plastic bottle. This particular one is from a juice. It has a cap and I've drilled 2 holes. Now, the first hole is where the bigger one is where the hose would connect, and it's pretty tight. This hose had a 3/8 inch external outside diameter. This is exactly how big the hole is. So I would connect it here. This hole is meant to allow for the air to escape. Essentially, as the bottle is being filled up with liquid, the air would be able to escape out so that we don't build pressure inside the bottle. So this is the other end of the hose. This is what will contain the liquid. Let's take a look at how that looks once it's all in place. Here we go. We are ready to loosen and tighten the bleed nipple to allow liquid to come out. As it comes out, it will be contained in the bottle. Now, why plastic bottle and why a cap? Again, from safety perspective, accidents happen. If this ever gets kicked, pushed, tumbles over on the floor, you don't want it breaking, and you also don't want the liquid to quickly spill all over the place and make a mess. So this is just in case that kind of eventuality develops, would allow you to contain the situation more easily. All right, let's move on. What does the process look like? The brake system has one entry point here at the brake fluid reservoir and 4 exits, one at each wheel at the bleed nipple. We want to create the conditions which allow fluid to enter through the reservoir, travel through the system, and exit out at each of the exit points. So how do we do that? The first method is described in the Jaguar factory service manual, and it involves 2 people working together as a team. One person is inside the vehicle pressing onto the brake pedal, thus generating pressure within the system, and the second person is at the bleeding nipple, loosening and allowing the liquid to escape and then tightening back. I work alone. I don't have a helper for this project, so this particular method does not suit my circumstances. I need another option. The second method relies on atmospheric pressure and gravity to move the liquid through the system. Essentially, you open up the bleed nipple, which is the exit of the system. You also would open up the cap, which is the entry to the system, and then slowly, through atmospheric pressure and gravity, the liquid will simply start coming out and collecting in the bottle at the bottom. Now, this method works, but it's very slow. You don't need 2 people for it. In fact, you don't need anybody for it. You just allow atmospheric pressure to push the liquid through. But it's very time consuming, and it's not the option that I would choose this time around. The third method generates flow through vacuum or suction. It involves having a tool which is installed here in between the nipple and the hose, and it's a hand tool. You just squeeze it and you generate vacuum. The top needs to be, the cap at the top needs to be open, so the entry to the system needs to be open. You start generating vacuum, and that sucks out the fluid, sending it down the hose and collecting in the bottle. I don't have that particular tool, so this is not a method I could use, but if you have it, if you or you want to buy it, I have it here on the screen for you to see what kind of tool I'm referring to. If you would like to go that route, that's a good option. And the final, 4th method is to generate pressure here at the entry point instead of generating suction at the exit point of the system. So with the 4th method, and my method of choice essentially, is to generate pressure at the top and push the liquid through the system towards the exits. Now, the pressure generation mechanism is the following. You have a plastic bottle with a couple of hoses. One of the hoses connects here instead of the cap. So the cap goes out. This comes in. You make a tight connection. Okay, so the see-through clear hose from the bottle goes to the container. The other hose, the black one, connects to your tire, to your vehicle tire. The air pressure from the vehicle tire gets transferred through the black hose into the bottle, through the other hose, and into the system. And this is what pressurizes the system. Once you have the system pressurized, the moment you open the bleed nipple at any of the exit points, the liquid will start flowing through. Now, why do we need a bottle? Because we have some liquid in the reservoir, but we're also going to fill this up with liquid as well, so that when the pressure enters the system and the air from the black hose is pushing down, what will be coming out of here is not air, but rather the liquid that is in the bottle. So the fresh, clean liquid that I'm about to put in will be entered here, and through the clean hose, it will enter the system and continue down through the pipes. All right, let me set that up and then we'll continue. Now, before we continue, let's take care of a few more things. First, let's prepare our tire. We can only go up to 20 psi max for this system to work. So you may have to let a little bit of air out from the tire before we start. Let's take a look at that. You'll see that I'm using my spare tire actually, not the real vehicle tire. And you can just test with one of these. I am slightly above 15, so I should be good. The amount of pressure in that tire should be okay to use. Now, once that is done, you can pressurize the system for a test, meaning we want to connect the black hose to the tire. This will bring the pressure in, and you want to listen and make sure that there are no leaks anywhere. The system needs to be tight. This is a prerequisite before you start anything. You want to make sure that the system is tight. So I'm going to pressurize it now. There we go. And now the pressure is in. I don't hear any leaks, but if I open this cap a little bit, oh, it's tight. Oops, you hear that? That's because the pressure from the tire is coming through the black hose and escaping. So this needs to be tight. Now you know that your system is pressurized and there are no leaks. So we can move on to the next steps. Let me release the pressure. All right. Now, the next thing you may want to do is, I mean, it's not mandatory, but probably a good thing to do. Get some sort of extraction device, like a big syringe, and pull out as much liquid as you can from here. Leave a little bit at the bottom. You don't want air entering the system. But if there's a lot of liquid, old liquid in here, take that out. There's no need to push that through the system. Just remove it and refill with clean fluid here, and then fill this with clean fluid as well. This way, when you bring the pressure back in and you start bleeding from each of the calipers, all the fluid that will be entering the system is clean, both clean in the reservoir and clean from the bottle. So I'm going to set these things up now and then we'll continue. This is about everything I could reach with this syringe, and I won't try to go any further. I've removed about altogether maybe 30 mils. Oh no, actually this is a 40. I've removed over 100 mils, I would say, of liquid. That's quite a bit. Here's the fluid. This is a different bottle. It's not the same as the one I showed you previous. It's the same size and shape, but it's a different physical bottle. Here's the fluid that's removed. Now the next step would be to fill this with fresh fluid and fill the bottle with fresh fluid. I will do the bottle away from the car separately, and then we'll come back to the reservoir. By the way, when working with brake fluid, make sure that you're always working from a sealed container. If the seal has been compromised in any way, do not use the fluid. It always has to be brand new, fresh from a sealed container. All right, the container is full. Hope you can see that in the camera. I filled that first because that allows me to drop the level in this bottle, which then allows for this kind of inclination without liquid spilling out. So I can hopefully get closer to the opening without spilling too much outside. Gosh, this liquid is so clean. It's completely see-through. I can barely tell how high it is in the container. Okay, that's good enough. It's not all the way to the top. Probably roughly at the same level of where the previous old fluid was. We'll place the cap on top. Let me just close this, the yellow container with its own cap. Okay, that is safe. Now we can tighten here. This is dry. Okay, we have fresh liquid here and we're tight. We have fresh liquid in the bottle. It's closed. The only thing remaining is to pressurize the system. But once we do that, once we pressurize, which wheel do we start from? There's 4 of them. We need to do them in the proper order. And folks, if you take anything away from this video, this is the key, most valuable information that you can probably take away from here. It is the order in which the wheels need to be done. Now, when I was a kid and my grandfather and my father were teaching me about changing brake fluid, they would always say, you start from the wheel that is closest to the brake fluid reservoir or the ABS system, which I don't know if you can see in this shot, but it's right there. It's in the same corner. So they would say, you start from the wheel that is closest, and then with each step you move further away. Eventually you finish with the wheel that is furthest away from this corner. So that would be the diagonal rear right wheel. This was their advice. Now, before doing this job, I researched online and just a simple Google search comes back with a ton of results, all of them explaining that you have to start from the wheel that is furthest away and then move closer to this corner where the reservoir is. So that was a bit contradictory in terms of I had been sort of taught, and in my mind I had one understanding of how it should be done. My searches were showing a different thing, so I went to the factory service manual provided by Jaguar to see what they recommend and what their sort of instructions are. I'm putting this up on the screen now. I'm putting a screenshot. You can take a look at their explanation and their diagram, and this is what we will follow today. All right, at this point, now that we know that we're starting from the front left wheel, I have pressurized the system right here. The black hose is connected. And I also checked up there, making sure that there are no sounds, no air leaks, and so on. Now, when I release or loosen this bleeding nipple, the fluid should start coming out this way. And there it is. I hope you can see that in camera. There it is. So the pressure provided by the tire is pushing the fluid out, and it is moving, there it is, into the bottle. Now, how long do we need to do this? Well, at some point, I'm hoping to see a change in color where, I mean, this actually looks quite clean, but it should become cleaner. So it's slightly yellowish now. It should become almost white at some point. When the clean fluid starts getting here, the color should change. And at that point, I would tighten and basically lock up this exit point, and then we'll move on to the other wheel. All right, I closed the bleeding nipple back. I tightened it. Now, there is liquid in this hose, even though it's kind of hard to see. Right here, you can notice it. And this liquid, at least to the naked eye, seems outright see-through, white. You can compare it to the yellowish brake fluid which came out initially from the line. So once the color changed to this clean white color, I closed it, and at this point this wheel is bled and it has clean fluid in the system coming up to this point. Now we move on to the other wheel, which is the front right. Now, what I tried to do on this side for the benefit of the video is I tried to leave a little bit of the fresher brake fluid that came out from the other wheel. I tried to leave that in the hose. It comes up to here. I hope you can see it. You can see the level. What I'm hoping now to happen is when I open this and the brake fluid from this caliper and from this line starts coming out, that should be more yellow, and we would be able to contrast better the clean and the dirty fluid as they would be essentially touching each other. So let's give this a try. The pressure is still on. I haven't changed anything in terms of pressurizing the system. The system is pressurized. I'm opening this bleeding nipple now. There it is. Slowly. And I hope that you can see the yellowish color here and the whitish color here. The two liquids are now, the old liquid is pushing the new liquid up. Yeah, the color is definitely different. All right, let's let it bleed out. And we now have yellow fluid coming through. And again, I would hold this until I can see nice, clean, see-through color coming out of the hose, and then this wheel is done. The hose and the liquid are now clear, and I'm ready to close off that bleeding nipple. There we go. You'll see how the dripping would slowly stop. There it is. And the one thing that I'm noticing, which is very, very good news, is that there are absolutely no air bubbles coming through the hoses, right? Coming out with the liquid. So that means that there's no air in the system, which in essence means that there are no punctures in the system, or there are no opportunities for air to get in. In essence, the system is nice and tight, which is what you would expect from any brake system. So far, so good. Let's move on to the next wheel. We are now at the rear left wheel. This is the driver's side in North America at the back. And you can see that again, I have a bit of clean fluid up to here in the hose left over from the other wheel. And before we go further, just wanted to bring your attention to something else. As you bleed the brakes, make sure that there is still fluid in this container. You don't want this going completely dry. as this fluid, as this level, it's down to here now. As this level drops further, I will depressurize the system, refill this with fluid up to the top, and then continue. So don't let this container go dry. It always has to have fluid inside. Just want to make that note. As you can see, I'm keeping my contingency instruments with me, just in case, to have them close by. And here we are, ready to, just trying to focus, there we go. Ready to loosen. Now the rear ones are a bit different because the rubber cap cannot be really removed, but that's okay. There we go. And there it is, yellow. See the yellow? Yellow coming in, white moving out. Yeah, there it is. Now I will go to the front and keep an eye on that container, make sure that the level doesn't drop too low, and we'll keep going. This is not yet completely clean. It's still a little yellowish, so it's not ready yet, but I have to stop it. I have to close this off because the level at the front is getting low. If you look at the bottle, we're very, very low, so I need to refill this. Also, I noticed that we have a leak. You see this here? There's fluid coming out of this connection at the cap and leaking out. Now, it's not too much, it hasn't gone far. I will wipe it, and I'm not worried because even under the plastic everything is contained, but just to illustrate in a way why it's important to do all this prep work and then have peace of mind if things go sideways during the process. All right, the container is filled again. I left a bit of paper here. If this continues leaking, the paper will just soak it up. I have repressurized the system. It's connected and we're ready to continue. I'll let this go for a bit longer until I see a perfectly clear see-through liquid coming out. Yeah, let's listen. There it is. I hope you can hear it dripping into the bottle. Let's let it work. I think we're now in the clear. The fluid coming out looks great, crystal. I'm ready to tighten this back up. The rubber gasket, the rubber cap is a little bit in the way here. It's hard to get a hold of the, there it is, okay. Nice and tight. And just as a reference, this is the clear fluid. If you look down here, look at how yellow this is. The old fluid that has been taken out of the system. All right, last wheel, we're going to move to the rear right side of the vehicle. All right, last wheel, we're at the rear right of the car. I'm ready to loosen, oops. Okay. There it is. There goes the yellow. I'll let it drip and we'll be back. All right, the last caliper is done. We're nice and clean. And it is still bleeding. You can see it coming out of the hose here. but the liquid is perfectly clean. I will now tighten. Come on. There we go. We're now tight. There we go. Bleeding has stopped. And if we move on to the front, let's take a look here. You would see that there's, I caught it right on time. Try to focus that. There's very little fluid left at the very bottom. Now, the next step here would be to disengage the tire so that we depressurize the system. Okay, so now the pressure is done. I will carefully disconnect here, remove this bottle. The one thing that I would like to make sure, that would be after I clean everything up, is that the level inside the tank is proper. If it's too low, I will add a little bit of fresh fluid. If it's too high, I'll need to remove a tiny bit with another syringe, with a clean syringe. I will just pull out a bit more fluid if it's too much until I get it to the perfect level. And that would then complete the whole process. All right, a few last things before we declare victory. I have removed all the protective measures that we had in place. The level might be a bit high. I may have to remove a bit of fluid from the container, but I cannot tell exactly right now because the car is not level. The front of the vehicle is lower than the back. I need to drop the car back on the ground, have it level, and only then I'll be able to adjust the level here if it needs to be adjusted. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I hope you can read here the lettering, only .4 brake fluid from a sealed container. This is what the car calls for, and here's what we used. .4 brake fluid. We spoke about the sealed container at the beginning before we started. And one more thing that I want to mention is the disposal of your used brake fluid. Please dispose of it properly. Most cities have hazardous waste disposal facilities. Here in Canada, they are free in a sense that you go there, you bring your hazardous waste, they take it, there's no need to pay anything, there are no fees, you just drop it off and you drive away. So dispose of this essentially poison properly. One last thing that I wanted to show you is, look at that liquid. It looks pretty bad. Yep. Did not look so bad inside the hose as it was coming out, but now that it's in a container, looks pretty bad. So I'm happy that I did this job. And if you're thinking of doing it yourself, honestly, it was not hard at all. Probably the hardest part of this whole process was lifting the car up and taking the wheels off. Everything else was very smooth, very straightforward. Absolutely easy in terms of physical requirement. You don't get tired, no muscles hurt. You just move from one wheel to the other and bleed the calipers. Is so simple. All right, folks, if you're undertaking a project like this, best of luck to you. And let me know if you have any questions or if you need any additional advice. All the best. Take care. See you in the next video.